What happens when he get done doing the work of the repair, right? What happens? It's all fixed. Everybody has now earned the absolute right of ascension. So if you're willing to put in the work and the effort and you're willing to earn it, you can get as high as you want on this planet and in this plane. But if you want to be a lazy, selfish, self-centered slob that feels entitled, then you're on your own. You're on your own. We shouldn't have to tolerate this, and we don't. Marry the truth to the spirit, expose the beast. I'm willing to do it, but I can't do it unless the people want it done, because I'm not going to go against the will of the people. If you wish to be oppressed, that's fine. But Sun Wukong never fails. You need to understand that. Now, they say in the book, everybody was going to be waiting for somebody to crack the code. And they gave the book to the only one that could read it, and the one that read it was me. I read the book. I got the proof. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back in my temple of self and lay back. Because at this time, in this day and age, we do not have to tolerate this injustice, this divide and conquer, the separation of the human families anymore. All royal families of the world gave their blood so that everyone could have a right to ascend. America became special when we granted the 13 colonies. We got sacked. We lost the war. The treaty settlement, treaty of peace and friendship. Somebody didn't like that. So King George sent his troops over here and installed an interim government under the false president George Washington. We are not under that anymore. That's expired. We are under the Continental Congress. That is our rightful standing in this land. Is the Continental Congress. It was the Iroquois Confederation of Nations. And as long as we sit here and accept this tyranny, we're going to be terrorized. They're going to call us everything. See, we're not supposed to have anything called the police. And that's why they keep shooting people in the back. And then it's bleeding over into the real enforcers of the code of righteousness that we call the Sharif. Or you call him the sheriff. Now let's talk about the sheriff for a minute and trace him back. If you trace them all the way back, they go back to the Tents of Kedar. The Tents of Kedar was established to protect wayfarers from tyrants in the desert trails of trade, what they called the Silk Road. And they guarded the holy city of Mecca under these tents, and they established mighty armies of Hashashin, or sleeper cells, that at the correct time, they would all be prepared to move into action to redeem the righteous and to oust the wickedness from amongst us. We can accept it or we can reject it. Now, my motivator is, because I've been knowing this for a while, but because people seem to delight and wallow in the misery, in the self-pity, in the entitlement, and the capitalizing on the misuse of the labor and the works of others. Because of this, I wouldn't say nothing. But then my mama told me that I needed to have a child, and I ran into a young lady who wanted to have a child that broke every word she gave me, and then she expected me to honor it. My word to her. I never broke my word to her. She broke the contracts between us. When she did that, I was no longer obligated. But I'm looking at my son, right? Pay attention. And I'm asking myself, when my son become a man, my son is becoming a man, and he said, Dad, the world messed up out there. Do you know why? Yeah, I know why. You mean you actually know the problem? I said, yeah. He said, well, how do you fix it? And then I give him the answer. He said, wait a minute, Dad. Now, you knew what the problem was. You knew what the solution was, and you didn't do nothing? No. How can I explain that to him? How can I tell my son that I left the world's problem that I knew how to fix for him to fix? Now I got a dilemma. Now I got a dilemma. What do I do from here? I know I'm looking at a march towards the destruction of me. I'm watching people coming against me, but they don't know I'm watching them. They don't know that I'm seeing the slide looks and the snotty looks and the fake friend gestures that they give me, because I don't hold them responsible for what these animals has done to us as humans. I hold them responsible for when I have shown them personally and in person the issue clearly and concisely, and they still ride with the enemy. That means that they are unrighteous by nature, because when righteousness comes, unrighteousness perishes. All right? So, what do? I mean, I can call them all and we can get unruly. I'd rather not. I'd rather not get unruly, because we would be contributing to the blood rights that's keeping these animals in power by us killing each other. One of my pet peeves is wounded warriors. There's no way, if you study history, when warriors came back from war, they were what they called duly compensated. That means they was given a just due. So what happened over here? They give them some pennies. You don't do that to your warriors. And that's why the mothers should tell their children to come home, because if her children are fighting in the name of what they believe to be righteous, they are deceived. There's nothing righteous about any wars on this planet. Nothing righteous about them, because they're all driven by a population quelling agenda and a genocidal agenda of the human family, so that some imposters can claim the entire planet for themselves. Not on my watch. So I have to speak up. I have to speak up because I have children. I have grandchildren one day if I live long enough. I have to say something that resonates so deep with the people that they understand. We don't have to live like animals. We are human beings. There's no big I's or big U's in this scenario. Our most impactful and our greatest position of power is in the unity of the human family. Now, they gave us a blueprint in Sumer to take over an entire planet. They gave us a blueprint in Sumer to take over an entire planet. And this is why they wanted to violate the gender contract and promote what they call the gay agenda. That's fine. I have no problem with a person's sexuality, his religion, his social position, and his social standing. I have no problem with his gang affiliation, with his tribal affiliation. None of that stuff bothers. The only thing bothers me is the wickedness. That's the only thing I care about getting rid of, is the wickedness. So here we go. What are we going to do as a human family? Are we going to come together on our own accord and stand in unison against this beast? I go get him, but I'm not going to go get him if y'all want to wallow in the misery. The system can stay in place and you can continue to suffer. But we don't have to suffer no more. We have to treat workers with dignity and respect. I look at these corporations and they suck all of the money from the life of the worker. And I watch the worker work so hard and they have to get overtime because they can't gotta make enough to pay the bills. That's insanity. Your labor, when you sell your labor, because that's what you do when you go to work, they don't even tell you how to calculate how much you should be making hourly, because it's based off a calorie burn. It's based off a calorie burn in fractional reserve labor practice, which is very similar to fractional reserve banking, where they only give you a tiny % of what you actually generate from your labor in the burning of your calories. So your conservation of energy, you have leaks everywhere. If you patch the pipe up, if you could learn how to conserve your energy, everybody can live a very, 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 there won't be no poverty on earth. It's enough sustenance on earth to sustain the entire population. We allow these companies to dig into the earth without the proper rights of respect. And they build these mines and they extract these minerals out and don't compensate the people in the lines of demarcation. That has to stop. The easiest way for everybody to level the playing field is anything that you have to dig in the earth deeper than 3 feet, which gives the allotment for farmers to make their own stuff. Deeper than 3 feet, you have to first compensate the people in the lines of demarcation from where it comes from, because the earth is providing for those people. I'm going to give you an example. We're going to take the Saudi royal family. You got that royal family is split in 2 factions and they don't even know it. They got some that are kind and compassionate and want to help the people, but they restrained by the greedy and the selfish. So they strike oil in like 1913, and Saudi Arabia became the richest country overnight. One of the richest countries in the world overnight, and the only person they had to answer to was the Pope. Think about that. Now, they got enough oil, right? If they set a system up where people can work for a small period of their life, they can live their life in just as comfortable as the royal family. The royal family doesn't have to hoard the wealth. So what they're going to have to do is, those who believe in hoarding wealth, their own family are going to have to get rid of them. Their own family going to have to get rid of them if you want to get rid of the evil. It's not the fault of the people. The people in Iran ain't bad people. But the bad people in Iran makes Iran look bad. The people of Syria are not bad people. But the bad people in Syria make Syria look bad. Everybody in America not bad people. But the bad people in America make America look bad. This is every country. Equally. The same oppressor, the same subjugation, and the same bringing it all to an end. I remember one time I heard somebody look at me and say, "Hey, are you born on the 4th of July?" Threw me for a loop. Maybe I am. Maybe I'm not. I can tell you this. First chance I get, UAW, auto workers, I have the first claim of right to adjust your contract in favor of the worker. Ford, Chrysler, and GM. This need to be open in public because of the lies, deceit, and treachery. They need to stop doing this stuff in back doors. You need to have all your contract negotiations out front and in the open, because that takes the element of corruption out. You can't lie to the people while they're seeing what you're doing. Now, I refuse to participate any longer in the tyranny. I haven't been to work in months. I haven't paid a bill in months. And I haven't seen my son in a couple months as a result, because they have women who think that the child should be used as a paycheck. Before I let my child be used as a poker chip, I will literally starve to death. I will starve until I don't have nothing left to eat ever again in life, until the last micro cell of my body is dissolved. I will not allow anybody to use my children as poker chips for their own economic gain, because they can lay on their lazy asses. I'm not going to participate. And just like I'm telling y'all with this war stuff, they want us to kill each other and turn on each other like wild animals. Don't participate. Mothers, tell your sons to come home, and your daughters. If they wear a uniform, no matter what they rank, tell them to come home. All you generals in the militaries around the world, when them rogues come telling y'all to go blow something up, don't do it. It's not necessary. If it was necessary, I wouldn't even say nothing about it. All this, they want us to kill each other so they can stay in power. We shouldn't do it. I wouldn't do it. I don't agree with it. Now, mind you, I might advocate peace, but I'm not peaceful. I advocate peace because it's in the interest of the people, and the most people can benefit the most from peace. I'm for just what's right. Just do what's right. Follow the laws of Mott. Don't get caught up in the slant that they put on your information. See, now times have changed, and we have an opportunity to place ourselves as one human family in unity across all borders and barriers. We can do that, or we can continue to walk this path of self-destruction. I remember KRS-One assembled a lot of New York artists, and they made a song called Self-Destruction. And it made so much sense to me, and made me want to be a hip-hop artist. Then, years later, a couple years later, here come, I don't know who was the initiator, but the West Coast Rap All-Stars, they dropped a song called We All in the Same Gang. And y'all didn't even realize we all in the same gang for real. It's us against the tyranny. It's not us against each other. It's not for us to kill each other like wild animals. That's not for us. That's not what we're here for. The wild animals can do that. Let the lions kill the zebras out in the bush. But in the human family, we didn't operate this way. We walked in love, harmony, and peace with each other until invaders came. Now, I done been here a long time, and I done took on many forms. As you see in my name, Morpheus, meaning one who transforms, meaning one who morphs for peace, who frees us. All these things are in the alchemical name. The name had to be alchemically charged over a period of time. Now, in order to have the 100 monkey effect, in order to make the vibration of this planet uninhabitable for this beast, I had to figure out a way to get the people to chant the word, more free us. More free us. I had to figure out a way. So I attached it to the music industry, turned it into a rhythmic tone. Because, you know, the sacred tones is the key to all this. When you intone the correct vibration, it all comes crumbling down on his head. He can't control us with this wickedness. Now, we all know that the human seed was corrupted. And this is how, like the Saudi family have those who wish to do Mother Teresa type work with all that surplus wealth. But then you have those who wish to look at it in a vault with big eyes and be like, oh my, I'm rich. Now, the ones who want to do the Mother Teresa type work need to be in charge of the money. The other ones need to be beheaded. But that's not my responsibility. That's up to the people of the Saudi to deal with their royal family, because they need to weed out the imposters so that the people can live comfortable all over Saudi Arabia. It's the same with every one of those countries. Now, you got outside forces interfering in your personal business. You got outside forces interfering in your personal business. And the reason why this is y'all all have a common religion called Islam. In this common religion of Islam, y'all used to have something called the Caliphate. The Caliphate could enforce the Sharia law. Well, we had a Sharia law over here, and they have our Mufti, Angel Bay, indisposed, so we can't exercise our rights to our Sharia law under the Moorish Empire because they've divided us so terrible. But Malik Angel Bay is our chief mufti. He is the one in charge of enforcing the law here. What do? Accuse him of terrorism, as they always do when somebody righteous try to do something right. They villainize him. So, whatever his order be to his people, I'm gonna get out the way. I just hope that it be a peaceful motion first. You see. Then we had a statesman. And he was to teach us business and how to interact with one another. And this man was supposed to teach us how to carry ourselves in unity and to be able to break the barriers. And we call him Larry Hoover. Larry Hoover is our statesman and our diplomat. They put him in prison, and he was about to come home. They fabricated cases. Now, everybody with a drug case, y'all need to understand something. There's a federal statute in the United States Code that says when the government commits a crime, and uses the citizenry as a method to carry out the crime, the citizenry are not responsible for that crime. In other words, everybody with a dope case is in direct violation of every portion of your United States Constitution because they are agents of the government and they're not supposed to be punished. They're supposed to have qualified immunity for anything narcotic related because the government is the ones bringing the narcotics. Iran-Contra exposed the rats for who they were. Everybody thought Ronald Reagan was the bad guy. Ronald Reagan was scared to death. They did not tell you Nancy was forced to keep him sedated for the remainder of his life so he could never tell the story about George Herbert Walker Bush and his role with Central Intelligence in bringing all this drugs over here. But Iran-Contra Senate hearings will show you where I don't have to prove it. They proved it to you before I even said it. This should automatically have every drug case brought to the surface. And everybody with a drug case acted as and to this day, act as an agent of government. You can continuously prove this because George Walker Bush right now still got troops guarding opium fields in Afghanistan. They still there. Why are they doing it? Now, let's go a little bit deeper. Pick up that book, Behold the Pale Horse, written by William Cooper, and he tells you about the law that was passed in the late night hours by a select Senate committee in order to make George Herbert Walker Bush King George I of the United States. We count them backwards. Understand me? You have to count them backwards because it was started from King George III. Count them backwards. He was supposed to have the reins. 9/11 was their coup de grace. 9/11 was done by Dick Cheney, Donald Rumsfeld, George Walker Bush at the command of George Herbert Walker Bush in the act of treason. Bill Clinton, George Herbert Walker Bush's adopted son, was in on it in as much as he knew what was going on and continued to keep up the charade. So what do we do about this? We find a righteous man somewhere. We let him kind of like villainize him, but not really. Kind of like make him look bad, but not really. They make him look like a man, a regular man, and put him in office. And when they put him in office, they say, we'll put you in office and we're going to give you this job. And you're going to have to drain the swamp. But you have to let the people believe you're still following the agenda of this wicked bastard so that we can overthrow this tyranny that's suffocating everybody on earth. We looked around and there was a very eloquent supporter of Ronald Reagan and dear friend of his that loved him greatly and mourned him for a very long time, even while he was alive, because he knew what they were doing to him and he was under the threat of death. He was bound to silence. I'm not part of no organization that can threaten me. Everything that I'm part of is about redemption and righteousness. So we trained him. I tried to tell y'all, you see, we sent him to Vincent Kennedy McMahon to be seasoned in learning how to be the bad guy. So you go back and you watch wrestling, you see Donald Trump in wrestling beefing with Vincent Kennedy McMahon, learning how to be a heel. He had to learn how to be the bad guy because he's not really a bad guy. But he had to play the role. See, in order to catch a serpent, you might have to play the serpent. In order to catch a thief, you might have to play the thief. And this is all part of life. And this is all part of the way that, hey, how you doing? This is all part of the way we get from under this tyrant. So he drained the swamp, this side of the water, but we have swamplands all over the world. So when he drained the swamp, all right now, when he drained the swamp here, Vladimir Putin drained the swamp there. Nobody wanted to talk to North Korea because they went right from day one. It's not that South Korea wrong. South Korea was sequestered from North Korea in an attempt to split the nation, and they did it. But North Korea had a backer in China that kept the wolves at bay long enough for me to expose the fraud. And so when Donald Trump went to go talk to him, he told him, we don't have to keep it up no more. He is here. He's going to set the record straight. So the Vietnam War was about a $1 bet. All of those people suffered in Vietnam and died on both sides of the conflict was about a $1 bet between billionaires. It's all documented, and it's a parody of it called Coming to America. The two old men, it's not hard to find. Now, once this is exposed to the public in a sufficient format, I'm going to go back, pool all my resources, and I'm going to show you where every reference is for everything I'm telling you. They all know. Now, it's a problem I got here. Problem I got with entertainment. Because entertainment is supposed to beautify the life of humanity with art and music. It's supposed to give us plays, what we call them today, motion picture. It's supposed to give us stuff to give us a break between work and during our work phase of life, where we are beautified in the mind and the heart to keep us into a loving state, in an uplifted state. Next thing you know, here comes Zionists. Well, who the hell are they and where they come from? Now, they're like, you anti-Semitic. I don't even know what that is. I can't find Semitics nowhere in history. How can I be against something that don't exist? So I look into this, and they got this group, two of them. One's called the Jewish Defense League, and one called Anti-Defamation League. One of them, the Jewish Defense League, are the ones, the strong arm of the Zionist movement. They the ones that they call, it's a joke in the Screen Actors Guild in various parts of Hollywood. They call them star whackers. That's what they call them over there. They call them star whackers. But they kill entertainers that don't want to surrender their wealth after their careers. So you see what happened to Michael Jackson. You see what happened to Tupac. You see what happened to Biggie. They want us to look like it's something other than what it is. They playing, we playing. We're going to find out who got the best plan when it's all over with. Now, watch this. They go over there, they set up these companies. Now, they leave signatures behind. The Metro-Goldwyn-Mayer, MGM Studios, are very closely related to Golda Meir, who was one of the prime ministers of what we call Israel today. And they take the money from people to earn it because they feel entitled. This entitlement shit is bad, man. This is horrible. We got to get that out of the minds of the people. Nobody ain't entitled to nothing they don't earn. The only entitled person is an adolescent child. Nobody else is entitled. An adolescent child didn't ask to be here. But by the time he becomes a teen, he begins to learn how to take on the responsibility as himself. When he becomes an adult, he begins to learn how to enter into the work field and provide and produce. But some of them excel at an earlier age, so they need a different format. The educational format is controlled. If you get the book, The Protocols of the Learned Elders of Zion, it's the entire blueprint. Now, I'm going to assemble my team of researchers, And I'm going to pick it apart for y'all and show y'all, because I already did it myself. So I know everything in it there that they said they had to control the world, they already did. Not going to do, they already did it. Their signature is on all their works. So they need to be compensated for their unjust works with justice. They need to be compensated for their unjust works with justice. So now, what do? We go to Hollywood and we get rid of the Jewish Defense League's positions of power. They don't need to be there. But this is how we going to do it so it don't cause too much disruptions in the day-to-day life. Every one of them, like example, I want Ted Fields to have to get in the UFC cage with Suge Knight and see how he fare. I want David Kenner to have to scrap with Dr. Dre and see how he fare. No, Harry-O. Send him in there with Harry-O in the joint. Let him go down there and fight Harry-O. See, Harry-O in there on some BS. You see? But he ain't no fool. So they take his money and start companies with and don't want to pay his money back to him that he earned by working for the government in sales and distribution. Working for the government. He can't be in prison for working for the government. It's not a crime to work for your government. That's patriotic at heart. He was working for your government. The same with Freeway Ricky Ross. He was working for your government, but when Russell Poole exposed him, now they got to lock him up because the government don't want you to know they behind it, because then you're going to start asking questions. When you start asking questions, you're going to find out that it's a rogue faction of government. We've been infiltrated. Well, when did it happen? Go back. Dwight D. Eisenhower, leaving office, his farewell address, he told you about military-industrial complex and the potential of its power of oppression of all people on earth. America has assembled its military force called the Leviathan Force around the world under the military-industrial complex. Now, if you know your biblical text, you know what the Leviathan is, the great beast. You know what it is. You know who is behind it. But it ain't the people of America. It's a rogue faction within the government of America that's pushing this agenda. What do? We drain the swamp. Now we gave Donald Trump a job to get the imposters out at high levels of politics, and he exposed Hillary and her husband, William Jefferson Clinton. And he exposed, he haven't exposed them, but he is addressing it, has addressed it. Your Bushes, your Rumsfelds, your Cheneys, they all know what's up. They all in on it together. There's only one of these jackals I ain't quite figured out yet, so I'm not going to put his name in here. Because it looked like, but he might have been going to the right. So I'm not going to mention him. I have to talk to my elders that know him better than I do in order to determine if what I see is really what I see. Because at the close of the age, as you get closer to where I'm at, more deception is exposed, so the righteous have to use a greater deception than the deceiver. So sometimes the misdirection is confusing. I can go do the math on it, but I haven't done it yet because I don't want it really to be true, and I want to give the people an opportunity. Now, politics, as we see it, is corrupt. It doesn't work like that. It doesn't work like that. It's corrupt. We need to revamp the whole system in every nation around this planet. One country at a time, but everybody got to start at home first. Everybody at home got to get the imposters out their house. When all of the imposters is in the streets, then we know what we up against. You know, that fake love, fake hugs. that shit. It's over. Now, all of the ones responsible, they gonna have an opportunity to defend themselves with the facts. But if they can't defend themselves with the facts and satisfy the people, they're gonna have to get in that cage. And the ones that they wrong can pick who they want to resolve the matter. See, we got Dana White in this UFC stuff. And we got him there for a reason. Dana White's job is to make it, he was to help Europe develop their own fighting style on the heels of what happened in Babylon. Everybody gave a drop of blood, and then Europe was supposed to develop to their own level of greatness so that they can have their name in the history books. This was supposed to be done as Greeks, but they were sacked by Rome and raped by Rome, figuratively and literally. Figuratively and literally. All of this stuff is verifiable and will be verified with the facts in written form and video format. I'm gonna do all of this work to show y'all. Now, I did a lot of work to get where I'm at now because I wouldn't be here if I didn't. I did a whole lot of research and investigation for a long time to find out why are we suffering like we are. I did the work. I got some more work now. While the imposters are being weeded out, they're going to all be sent to Dana White to get in that cage. And the people they directly undermine are going to pick who they get to fight with. If they lose, then we're going to send them out to the gallows. We'll send them out to the gallows, sever their heads. Because you can't do people like that. Mama say you can't throw people away like trash, and I agree. And everybody out in Acts agree the same way. Even the ones I thought was inherently wicked say, nah, man, you can't just throw people away. But what are we doing? Look around you in the streets.
It is for my rituals. I have checks that I write, and then, I put the amount on it, then I burn it. So this is one of the check amounts. What? Do they got it paused for y'all? Okay. Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay. They had it paused for me. And then the amounts just go higher and higher. So 15. Then we got 150. And these are for my friends. One is 175,000. And then the other one is 101,500.
Mm-hmm.
And so literally it's like, it's not just me doing it just to do it. It's sincerely, like, I do it for my friends. I do it for my YouTube subscribers. So I call my YouTube subscribers Rainicorns. So I have written, literally my subscribers, I've written Rainicorns 2 checks so far. And literally I didn't like do a whole video and be like, hey, you guys, I'm gonna do this. It was like, hey guys, I did this thing. How are y'all feeling? Did you feel the results from it? And literally I had the check written and dated April 18th, and a whole bunch on the video commented and said, I actually did get money on April 18th. Yeah, I did get money and stuff like that. With all that going on, I'm just that, my life's going well, and I'm making things better for other people too, and that everybody like around me has a great life. Like, I'm genuinely happy about that.
That's what you're supposed to do. That's that mother energy. Because you want all of your kids. You want all your children to have a good life. You don't want one of them to have a good life and the other one to have a bad life.
Right.
Right? You want all of them to have a good life. Now, some of them might be some assholes. They steal your babies and you still want them to have a good life.
Hey, that's true. No, that's true. Like, literally, like you said with the child analogy, it's like that with people in general, right? So, like, me, I don't have to be emotionally tied to a person for me to still treat them right. I don't have to like you in order for me to do what needs to be done. People have had jobs. People have had jobs. You have a coworker. You've had a coworker that you don't like, but you still work with them because that's what you get paid to do. So my job literally being here is to be the vessel to say certain things. Whether I like you or not, I still got to get my job done. My reward doesn't come from you. It doesn't come from anybody else besides, you know who? Big Mama. Exactly. So it's like, if when I look to the Most High for whatever I need, and I don't really have to care about what other people feel, it makes my job that much easier. It's just people let emotions and feelings get in the way of the mission.
You know, your emotions is just supposed to be your navigation system. Most of us don't know that. So that's why when you get stuck in the emotion, that's like being stuck in the change oil light on your car. If you keep watching that just because it's blinking, you're going to crash.
No, because why did I buy car oil today? Oh no, that's lit. That's lit. I love that. But I love that analogy too. Your analogy, you really have the best analogies. You break things down to where people can understand it, of course, and then you break it down to where they can relate it to something that happens in everyday life.
Yeah, because that's the easiest thing for them to relate to.
Mm-hmm. It makes sense. And now I just been up here talking. How are you? I'm not. You're not gonna do that. Just go get away. We're not telling me how you are.
Hey, look, Ellie, your energy is like uplifting energy. Like, the people in the comments can even feel it. You know, so it's always a pleasure to have you around. So I just let you do your thing.
Uh-huh.
Mm-hmm.
We're not gonna ignore my question though.
Okay, what's the question?
How are you? Oh my goodness. I want to know.
I answered that first.
You said what?
I told you I was good.
No. I'm not just gonna like accept that as the answer. I'm gonna need some details. How was your week last week? How was your weekend?
You know, on the weekend, the big event was I did the video with Black Magic 363 on YouTube, and was able to answer a lot of questions and put a lot of information out on there. I think the hardest thing for people at this point to understand is creation is fluid. It's happening in real time. Tomorrow not here yet. In order for tomorrow to get here, we got to manifest tomorrow.
Exactly.
It's a collective manifestation. That's why we all know we're going to wake up tomorrow, because we creating that shit in real time. Right? And some of the creators can see it in wave form, so they see a flat earth. And some of the creators see it in particle form, so they see a round earth. They don't make now one of them right or wrong, it just make them have a different view.
Okay.
They had a different level of creativity in their psyche. Right? So it's like you can't expect a high school or junior high school basketball player to compete with LeBron James right now. It doesn't make sense.
Right.
Right? But if you give him the time and you help him to develop, he'll be able to play in the league with the best of the best. Right? So the creator's learning how to create. You have to see it in every phase.
Right.
Right? So at your level, you might not be able to see over the infinite plane of the mind, because that's where the infinite plane is. In order to see past the infinite plane, you have to see through the slits. Right? And when you see through the slits, you see in the particle, and the particle is solidified creation. This is when we have a round earth, because we're dealing with particles now. We're no longer dealing with waves. And then you got some that can see it in the middle. It's a wavicle, right? So if, like they say, if we on an infinite plane, what's holding it up?
Right.
Right? But the only way it can be infinite if it's the product of the mind. The mind don't have a limit. So you can't put a limit on what the mind can perceive. Right? But soon as somebody put a limit on it, that's an agreed upon manifestation of that part of creation.
That makes a lot of sense. That makes a lot of sense. Like the concept of heaven.
Yeah, that's earth is heaven when we get the
Yeah.
imposters out.
The imposters.
It has to happen that way though. Right? Because we got to be able to see the deceiver when the deceiver coming, and then we got to be able to show you how they was giving out the deception. And then once you can see it, it doesn't work for them no more. They can't trick nobody no more. They game exposed now.
That's how they are right now. Like you were saying earlier about the finances and stuff and everything crashing. Yeah, people figured it out. So once it got figured out, there's no use for it anymore.
Right. So once it runs its course is over.
Right.
Yeah. So before the invasion, women didn't have to wear no clothes if they didn't want to. They wasn't getting raped. What they call today primitive cultures. The women don't have to wear no clothes. They ain't getting raped unless it's somebody from outside of their community.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that's the difference. That's what we're trying to get back to the beginning, back to the haven called Earth instead of the hell called Earth.